I'm Herman Faust, and this is Enjoy It While It Lasts. Today, I'm going to tell you what happened in the NFL Divisional round. There was one show of dominance and 3 other close games. One was a weird turnover field game, and there were a couple of overtime battles. Of those overtime battles, one was fast-paced, where the whole game felt like something was going on, and the other an old-school game with some snow and a few flashy moments. Let's jump right into it. I'm going to talk to you about the AFC games first. The Broncos-Bills game was probably the most exciting game of an exciting weekend of games. It had everything. The game swung back and forth, high level of play by both teams. There were huge mistakes, huge plays, and it had huge storylines. Last week, I talked about how big this postseason was for legacy making for the Bills. And so much stuff happened in this game that to really tell the full story of it, I'm going to have to take you drive by drive. Denver gets the ball to start, and they have a good drive down the field. McLaughlin had a really impressive short run where he was spinning around Bills defenders. He was met in the backfield, but used about 3 or 4 spin moves to turn a loss into a 5-yard gain. The Broncos got the ball to within the 5-yard line, and they ended up fumbling the ball. But that was saved because there was an offsides on the play. So they get another chance. And Bo Nix throws the perfect ball to Lil Jordan Humphreys, but he dropped it. So after an almost turnover and an almost touchdown, they settle for the field goal to start. The Bills answered that with a long drive of their own. I don't take a lot of announcer notes, but on this drive, when the Bills were down to like the 8-yard line and they had a 3rd down play, Jim Nantz mentioned how in their pregame talks, Denver's defensive coordinator, Joseph Vance, calls these situations 4-point plays because if you stop them, then they'll only kick a field goal and get 3. But if you don't, they'll get a touchdown and get 7. The reason I took a note of this is because I thought it was funny how Jim Nantz was describing this interaction like he had just learned some new football wisdom. When these situations have been called 4-down plays by everyone, lots of announcers, I feel like I've heard him say it for as long as I can remember watching football. But anyways, on this instance, the Broncos don't make the stop. So the Bills win that 4th down play. They get the touchdown, and they take a 7-3 lead. After the first couple of drives, both teams are moving the ball down the field, but it definitely looked easier for the Bills. It looked like the Broncos were struggling for their first downs. This looked to be the case even more so when the Bills forced a quick punt on the Broncos' second possession. And then they started running the ball on Denver. The Buffalo was taking advantage of the fact that their offensive line has a strength and size advantage over the Denver's defensive line. And Cook was taking advantage and finding the holes and getting good gains. Josh Allen had a wow moment for me that wasn't a super big highlight, but I just really was impressed. I liked his stop and start run that he had on this drive. But it ended with the game's first big mistake with a fumble by James Cook. Bo Nix came out, and then he used his legs a couple of times and also completed a couple of quick passes to put a drive together that was capped off with the always fun play of throwing the ball to an eligible lineman. This time he one that actually was a catch and run. It wasn't just a 1-yard pass like you see sometimes. He had to run it a little bit. But they end up scoring a touchdown on that play and take a 10-7 lead. Now, Buffalo got back down the field, again, relatively easy. They're just picking up chunks of yard. This time, Denver puts up their first real stand uh, and force a field goal, though. When Denver gets the ball back, Bo Nix has his second drive in a row, his back to back good drives where he is making big plays with his arm, he's making good throws, and he's making big runs. They get down to the 28-yard line, and he takes a shot, looking again for Lil Jordan Humphreys. But this time, he's able to make the catch and put up a score to put the Broncos back on top. The Bills get the ball back with 16 seconds left in the half. And maybe it's the back and forth nature of the game. Maybe it's because offenses have seemed to get whatever yards they want to get so far. But they decide, instead of taking a knee, to try a last second desperation play. They set up, it looks at first like it's going to be a Hail Mary, but Josh Allen ends up, he's looking deep at first and he takes off. And at the end of the play, the ball kind of slipped out of his hands. But it looked to me like he was maybe trying to look for someone to lateral, like he looked behind him. Maybe he was expecting or hoping that somebody would be there. And his hand, the motion, it looked like he wasn't carrying the ball. He obviously wasn't carrying the ball tight to chest. He was holding the ball, looking to me as if he was preparing to toss it back. And he just wasn't able to keep his grip on the last second when he realized there wasn't anybody to toss it to. But either way, the ball kind of awkwardly drops out of Josh Allen's hand, and Denver recovers the ball and recovers the second Buffalo fumble of the game. This was also breaks a streak for Josh Allen. He had gone 6 straight playoff games before this without a turnover. That left the Broncos with enough time for one play. They get the chance to kick a long field goal and make it to take the 20-10 lead into halftime. At this point, this first half, both offenses were looking good. But despite the mistakes, I was still thinking that if Buffalo could only hold on to the ball, that they were going to have a chance to score a lot of points in the second half. And I figured the way that Denver looked like they were struggling a little bit more, that they were going to have to be trying to fight to hold tight and hold on for the rest of the way. To start the second half, though, there is a huge mistake by Buffalo, by the line this time. A Broncos defensive lineman was in the backfield and hit Josh Allen almost instantly, just as he was trying to get a quick throw away, caused a sack, fumble, another Broncos recovery. The ball ended up coming out of Allen's hand there, but this fumble was not on Allen. This was on their line, mainly the tight end that was supposed to be helping, but ended up helping the defensive end by giving him a push in the direction that kind of helped his momentum keep him away from the left tackle instead of pushing him into the left tackle. This helped set Denver up at the 17, so they weren't able to do anything else, but since they started the ball at the 17, they were gifted their second straight field goal without having to do anything. Buffalo then comes out and is able to respond with a successful drive they were hoping to get to start the half. They're continuing to gain yards whenever they actually keep the ball in their hands. They have another big 3rd down and 1, and they use the quarterback sneak that is successful and had been successful. They were already 4 for 4 on using a quarterback sneak on those short yardage situations. And this is important because they end up with a 3rd and 1 inside the red zone. But this time they played off the fact of how dominant they had been. And instead of going with a sneak, they throw a quick pass over the middle and get the touchdown to cut the lead to 23-17. Then on their first time in a while in game needing to put a drive together, Denver has their first big mistake of the game, where on a 3rd down pass, Bills rookie defensive lineman Walker is able to jump up and intercept a Bo Nix pass attempt at the line of scrimmage. And this sets the Bills up at the 36-yard line. Josh Allen tries to capitalize by going deep and attacking the end zone, but is picked off immediately to turn the ball right back over to the Broncos that let them off the hook for that first big mistake. This is the Bills' fourth turnover of the day, and this turnover broke another Allen streak. He had a postseason streak of 200 passes without being picked off before that throw. So, as I said a second ago, at this point, Denver's offense hasn't done much since those back-to-back drives in the second quarter, where Knicks looked great in those drives. But this time they were able to get out from deep in their own territory, and they got the ball downfield to where they could have elected to attempt a 58-yard field goal, which, while it is long, is well within their kicker's range. This is Denver, high altitude, thin air. Kicks usually go longer there. Um, and, I mean, their kicker was making it from 60 plus in pregame warmups. This also would have put them up by 2 scores, but they decide it's too risky to kick it and instead elect to flip the field and punt the ball. The Bills take advantage with on the follow up drive. They start off with a great fake handoff that it was great on a lot of like the play action. I mean, it was good for a fake handoff, but that's not what made it great. I'm sorry. What made it great was the pass was a impressive pass. Then the catch by Shakir was a really good catch in traffic. He had a great run after the catch. And then when he was finally met by defenders, he fought for an extra 5 to 6 yards at the end of the play as they tried to drag him down. The drive is capped off by another impressive throw and catch, this time to the tight end Kincaid, for the Bills to take a 24-23 lead. The Bills' defense continues their momentum, and they shut down the Denver's offense, again forcing a 3-and-out. The Bills' offense is able to pick up some yards, and while the Denver's defense stops them from scoring the touchdown, the Bills are able to add another field goal, and it's starting to feel like Buffalo is just taking control of the game based on the strength of their defense shutting down Denver's offense. But that's when Sutton shows up and makes his presence felt finally for the Denver Broncos. He has a couple of huge plays to get the first down, move the chains, and try to help the Broncos snap out of their offensive funk. One of them was he had a sideline grab where it was one of those toe tapping catches. He had to drag his toe inbounds. And another one, a tough grab in the middle of the field where he had to drop down to a knee to reach down and get the ball before it hit the ground. This kind of allows Knicks to get into a little bit of rhythm, feel a little bit of success again, and more importantly, just kind of keeps them alive, keeps their offense moving. And then Knicks is able to capitalize and hit Nims for a 26-yard touchdown pass for the Broncos to retake the lead with 55 seconds left in the game and go back up 30-27. Real quick on this play, I didn't notice if they ever said anything about it, but Nims' momentum carried him into a camera guy, and he slid, and his back slammed into a I don't even know what exactly it's for, but it looked like a pole that was attached to the camera sticking out, and it basically stabbed him in the back. It looked like it hurt pretty bad. But again, I never saw anything mentioned about that. I just know I took note of it watching it live. Anyway, now we are in the last drive of the game. And Buffalo starts it with a couple of decent positive gains uh, before going into their bag of tricks and pulling out a hook and ladder that went for 27 yards. Then on the very next play, it looks like there could have been a touchdown to wide receiver Brandon Cooks, but that he slowed down. And it looked to me like he slowed down and didn't run through the end of the route. Um, Maybe the ball was going to be overthrown even if he did run all the way, but I thought he had a chance if he would have kept running. Anyway, after that, the Buffalo Bills end up having to settle and kick a 50-yard field goal, and Prater nails it, and this sends the game to overtime. In case you need an overtime rule refresher, because the rules have changed a couple of times in the last few years, both teams are guaranteed the ball at least one time. After both teams have had the ball once, if it's still tied, then it's sudden death. A lot of teams like to take the ball second if they win the coin toss because there is an advantage to knowing what the other guy did with the ball. For example, if the first team scores a touchdown, you know that you can't kick a field goal. I personally think it's a tougher choice than what seemingly everyone else in the league thinks because it seems that it's very common to just say that you're going to kick it. I think it should be a closer call because I really value being the guy that gets my hands on the ball for the third time in that situation in case we both do match each other on the first two possessions. I don't know which is more important though. I don't feel super strongly about this. I think it's close enough. It's a close enough call that for me, if I was the one making the call, I would probably base it situationally based on how the game is going. But anyway, the Bills ended up winning the toss, and they elected to kick. And it works out great at first. They stand strong and force another 3 and out. Denver continues to not be able to do much besides that one late drive in the second half. And they have to punt the ball. But Denver gets a really good punt, and they force the Bills to start at their own 7-yard line. At first, it's looking like that's not going to be a big deal because Buffalo is having some success again, moving the ball down the field. And this is when they try to go for another deep shot. They try to hit Brandon Cooks again. This time, Cooks and Broncos defensive back McMillan both go up and grab the ball in the air. They both have their hands on the ball as they fall to the ground. But when they hit the ground, Cooks loses his grasp, and as they roll over and the ball never touches the ground, McMillan has it. This play has caused a lot of confusion. There's been a lot of people complaining about it because the tie is supposed to go to the offensive player if two guys make the catch at the same time. And also because you can freeze frame the replay and see a shot with Brandon Cooks on his back and the ball in his hands, looking like he should have been down right there, play over. When I watched it live and with replay, I thought that it was the right call. I think that it was simultaneous possession in the air, and as they were going to the ground, both guys were fighting for it. I think that since that is the case, the play is not dead as soon as Cooks touches the ground because possession isn't settled yet. It's not for sure if it's Cooks' ball yet. And like it or not, completion of the process of the catch has been the rule, has been the norm, and Cooks did not complete the catch. McMillan did. I don't think it was a tie. I think McMillan won the ball. I think even the players on the field, the biggest piece of evidence for that, if you want to look at what the players thought, Cooks laid on the ground and seemed distraught like he had just got the ball taken from him. Cooks didn't act like he thought that he made the catch and like he was being wronged here. It looked like he knew that McMillan took that ball from him. It wasn't for sure over here though, because again, Buffalo had been playing strong against Denver's offense, and they got them into a third down early in the possession, trying to continue to limit Bo Nix and the Broncos. But Nix hit Thompson, um, who made a quick change of direction cut after making the catch, and was able to find a seam and ran the ball down to midfield. From there, the Broncos kept attacking in the pass, and they got a couple of pass interference calls on the Bills that I think were rightly and justifiably called. I don't think these were bad penalties. I think this were fair calls that of a frustrated Bills team maybe possibly having some reason to do with what led them to it. But I think that they were pass interference. The first one moved the ball to the 36, and the second one moved the ball inside the 10. That basically ended the game there because it led to Broncos kicking a 24-yard game winner. I talked about last week all the pressure that Allen and the Bills would be under because of how good they've been for a while now while not being able to make a Super Bowl, and also with the other quarterbacks that are considered his rivals, his par, his level of quarterback, his competition, that none of them were in the playoffs this year. And after this game, the Bills decided to move on from their coach, McDermott. They don't think that he has done, I guess they feel like he has not done what he should have done with Allen and this team and capitalized as much. This might be one of those situations where while he is a good coach, maybe while he is a good coach to help make this team, maybe the mixture of him and them just was not ever going to be good enough to get them to the top. Who knows? Maybe it would have happened next year. But they decided that the mixture needed a new element, and they decided to take McDermott out of it. I do know that whoever replaces him, they're coming into a situation where you either have to win the Super Bowl or you have failed. The next Buffalo Bills coach is either going to be that guy who's remembered in Buffalo as the guy who was the coach the first guy to get them to the Super Bowl, or he's going to be a failure, and that's pretty much, there's no middle ground for the next coach, and that because of the situation they're in. Also, after the game, Denver doesn't even get to feel great about their victory for very long because Sean Payton lets it be known in his press conference that Bo Nix broke his ankle at the end of the game. I'm still not really sure what play it happened on, where exactly, like what part of the end of the game. I'm guessing it had to happen at that last drive in overtime because he was in there the whole way through. But now the Broncos, they get to host the AFC Championship game, but they will be playing with their backup. They're going to be rolling Stidham out there, who has not thrown a pass all season long. This is a rough hit for Denver fans, despite getting the big win. Moving on now to the next AFC game, where the Houston Texans went to New England to play the Patriots in a game in the cold with rain, ice, sleet, and a little bit of snow. Just all kinds of precipitation throughout the game, and throw some wind in too. This was a messy game where the defenses and the conditions did combine to create some excitement, though. To start this game off, both teams had a couple of 3-and-outs before the Patriots were able to put together the game's first real attack. They got the ball down to the Texans' 28-yard line. They got a 4th-and-1, decide to go for it, and ends up being a good decision for them this time when they hit a pass down the seam to Douglas for a touchdown. Houston then responds with a good drive of their own, but they bite themselves for the first time in the game when they have a touchdown run called back because of a penalty for having 2 men in motion before the play without getting set. They brought in their defensive end as a fullback, and this is something they've done a few times this season and use him as a lead blocker. But he was late getting himself down into his 3-point stance, and because of that, they end up having to settle for a field goal. The Texans defense then smothers the Patriots, including a strip sack that New England was able to fall on but lost them 26 yards, and they end up having to punt from their own end zone. After that, the Texans and Patriots traded a couple of turnovers when the Patriots intercepted Stroud on the sidelines with a great catch. The guy got his knee down just in bounds. But that was followed immediately by Drake May having the ball punched out for a fumble. So the net basically would have been is the same as if Stroud completed his long pass, right? I know the Texans maybe they should just look at it that way, because that was indicative of the day all day, honestly. The Texans defense making up for their offense and keeping them alive. And in this time, after the interception and then followed by a fumble, the Texans are able to hold on to the ball and take advantage and get a touchdown to make the score 10-7. Their defense makes another stop and get the ball back. And this time, Stroud finds himself under pressure, and he is hit as he throws. But even before, without that, if you look at I'm not sure why he didn't just eat the ball. I don't know why he even tried to throw. There was nobody in the area he was looking at. Maybe he was trying to throw it out of bounds over everybody's head. But he was hit as he threw, and it made the ball stay up in the air a couple seconds, lofted one up, and Jones was able to grab it and run it back. And the Patriots take a 14-10 lead on the defensive score. On the Texans' very next possession, C.J. Stroud has another interception. But this one is actually not his fault. I'm being dramatic here. This one hit Hutchinson in the hands. He just wasn't able to make the catch. There was a lot of drop passes in this game. The ball was slick. It was hard from the cold. This drop ended up popping up in the air, which made for an easy interception. But New England was unable to capitalize this time because their offense had to get back out on the field, and that meant Houston's defense had to get back out on the field. Both defenses trade stops again before New England was able to get any type of rhythm. And then Drake May was able to hit Stephon Diggs, who made an excellent catch to extend their lead to 21-10. Stroud ends another drive with an interception. Carlton Davis makes his second pick of the game on the sidelines. But once again, Houston defense forces a 3-and-out. The Texans aren't able to move the ball when they get it back. And C.J. Stroud, he just looks shell-shocked at this point. The half kind of ends there after neither team's able to do anything anymore. And Houston starts the second half with a little bit something going on. It looked like maybe C.J. Stroud was able to calm himself at halftime. They are able to get down the field at least a little bit, and they kick a field goal to make it a one-possession game again. This is followed by Drake May putting the ball on the ground again. This was Will Anderson's second forced fumble of the game. And on the ensuing drive, Houston has their fifth turnover of the game. So now we have Houston with 5 turnovers, the Patriots with 3 turnovers. Both defenses just keep snatching the ball away, basically saying, give me that shit, over and over. Another 3-and-out. We got another 3-and-out by the Patriots because the Houston's defense is doing everything they can to hold on. And the offense is able to have another small win this time and make a little bit of progress to set up and nail a 51-yard kick to cut the Patriots' lead down to 21-16. Then the Patriots have their best drive of the game. They're finally able to get something going against this Houston defense. But I do want to say that the Houston defense actually played really well on this drive. The Patriots were able to find success in the face of pressure and in the face of the Houston having really good coverage on everybody. The Patriots fought their way downfield, and then May was able, it looked like he had overthrown it, but Patriots wide receiver Booty was able to stretch his arm out and make the grab for the touchdown that basically put the game away right there. Houston, they never really threatened again at that point. The Patriots did have another drive that ate a ton of clock. And then when it was near the end, if the touchdown was the first, that touchdown, that stretched out touchdown catch by Booty was the first of the killing blows, the final kill shot for the Texans in this game, it actually came from themselves. They had a 4th and 18, and granted, that's not normally something that you would ever want to go for. But they were down by 2 scores with only 4 minutes left, and more importantly, they only had 1 timeout left. So they weren't going to have enough possessions left in the game. They had to score on back-to-back possessions, basically. And I looked at that 4th down like if the Patriots got the ball back, the game was over. And the Texans punted it to them. The Texans did get the ball back one more time, only one more time, though, not the 2 more times they would have needed. But even then, they weren't able to do anything with it. So they were probably just going to lose either way, honestly. I also think that in the long run, that this is the final nail in the coffin, so to speak, for me forming my opinion on CJ Stroud. I don't think that he will be as good as his rookie season made everyone believe. He's had way more times where he's looked lost than where he's looked good in these last 3 years. And then in this game, it just saw him hand the game away over and over again, that his defense kept fighting to try to get back. Drake May, on the other hand, has looked really good, albeit this game he put the ball on the ground 4 times, but that seems to be more of an outlier for him instead of the norm. And in this particular case, mainly probably based on the conditions of the game. The strength of the Patriots, though, is their defense. And I think with how good they are, combined with the edge at quarterback that they have, especially after the Bo Nix injury, that we can expect to see the Patriots in the Super Bowl, which should be fun because their fans have had to wait a long time now since it was the last time that Brady took them there. On the NFC side, I'll start with the quick one to talk about. San Francisco came into the playoffs an injured team, and they got more injured last week. And they looked undermanned in this game when they went to Seattle to take on the number 1 seed Seahawks. Seattle had a dominant defense all season long, and they showed off in this one. The game started with a 97-yard kickoff return for a touchdown by Seattle that really was a foreshadowing event. San Francisco picked up 20 yards on their first drive before getting stopped and turning the ball over on downs at the Seattle 40. We see Seattle's offense for the first time in the game, and they put together a decent drive that gets stopped short where they have to kick a field goal. Then on the next 49er possession, Tongs gets hit and fumbles and is recovered by Seattle, setting them up inside of San Francisco territory. And Sam Darnold is able to capitalize on that, taking them down, hitting a touchdown pass. And then at this point, San Francisco as they are already down 17 nothing. They have their most successful sequence of the game. Uh, the 49ers, they show a little bit of life and they're able to drive down for a field goal. They are able to then force Seattle's first punt of the night, and the 49ers are able to have another field goal scoring drive to where they make the game 17-6. And then that was about the high water mark for San Fran. Uh, on the next possession, Kenneth Walker runs Seattle down the field, including a 7-yard touchdown run to make the game 24-6 before half. San Francisco opens the second half by getting the ball. So they clearly are needing to put together some kind of score if they want to stay in it. They are able to at least drive the ball into Seattle territory, and they make it to a 4th and 3. And of course, with the way that this game was going, they pretty much have to go for it. But the Seahawks crash through the line. They get a big sack to end that threat, and really, that was the last time the 49ers were even close to a threat in this game. Because after that, Seattle added another field goal, and Purdy was picked off on a play where he had time, but Seattle had every option covered. And then the game just rolled that way, with the Seahawks even tacking on a couple of touchdowns later in the game, and the 49ers ever coming close to scoring again. I'm sure that San Francisco will be back and good again next year, but they had no chance in this game. Seattle's defense looks like a monster. Their offense looked efficient this game, but you really couldn't tell a lot about their offense because of the way the game played out, other than they look decent. They look good, but their defense looks scary. And they will be hosting the NFC Championship game. After that, we had the LA Rams playing in Chicago. And this was an exciting game with a couple of moments that were even better than anything that Buffalo Denver had. Maybe not quite the level of Buffalo Denver overall, but it definitely had its moments. To start the game, there was snow on the ground, and the snow was falling throughout. It was not a ton, not like a blizzard game or anything like that, but anytime there's snow for a playoff game, that is automatically fun. Plus, I was excited about the personalities in this game. The up-and-coming Bears, young quarterback Caleb Williams, the first-year head coach Ben Johnson that I recently learned is a shit talker. Last week, I basically gushed about how impressed I was with the Rams and Sean McVay's continued success with them, and also about how good Stafford is. So I was excited to see how this one played out. The Bears started the game with the ball, and after a couple of good plays, Williams is hit as he throws, and the ball is picked off for the first turnover of the game on the first drive. Then the Rams marched down the field on an impressive 14-play drive for a touchdown. The Los Angeles Rams tend to start games very strong like this. McVay seems to know how to attack a defense initially very well. The Bears do find some success on the ground and run the ball down the field. They go for it on a 4th and goal from the 3-yard line, and Williams is able to hit DJ Moore for a touchdown to tie the game 7-7. Then the defenses really started stepping up. The Rams had 3 drives in a row that ended in punts, and the Bears had a punt and a turnover on downs before being able to finally pick up enough yards to set up a 49-yard field goal to take a 10-7 lead. But the Rams were able to answer that before the end of the half. They are able to put together their own field goal drive to make it 10-10 before going into halftime. Then coming out of the break, the first 6 drives of the second half featured a ton of dropped passes and the wind even taking a couple of throws and blowing them off target. And this happened for both teams. The Rams almost had a fumble once, but they were able to fall on top of it and ending up punting their first 3 times having the ball. The Bears also punted a couple times, and Williams mixed in his second interception in one of the possessions as well. And then finally, the Rams were able to be the first to break through the defense in the second half with a big play from Matthew Stafford to Parkinson, who made a really good run after the catch too, to finally get the ball moving. They continue on. They have a tough drive, but are able to move it downfield the rest of the way and finish with a touchdown to go up 17-10. Then we get a couple of big plays from Caleb Williams to help set the Bears up with a 1st and goal. But the Bears take the ball out of his hands and hand it off 3 times, which brings up a 4th down. And then I think in a situation where it's very obvious they weren't going to hand it off again, they try to give Williams the chance, but at that point, this play, the ball ends up being batted down at the line, and they are stopped with about 3 minutes left. But the Bears defense is able to step up, keep them alive, and force a punt at the 2-minute warning. So Caleb Williams has the ball with about a minute and 50 seconds, down by 1 touchdown, and a timeout in his pocket. He's able to hit several quick passes. They have success in the short, quick passing game to take them down the field. This time they're able to get it they get it to the 14-yard line and have another 4th down, a 4th and 4 this time. Then came the play of the game. After the snap, the play breaks down pretty quickly with the Rams breaking through the line. And Williams is scrambling away. And at one point, he's actually turned all the way around, facing the wrong direction and sprinting backwards to about the 40-yard line just to be able to get enough separation between him and the defender to be able to throw the ball. And he lost it to the back of the end zone, where Kelmet was able to make the catch for the tie. The game is tied 17-7 with just 16 seconds left. This was an incredible run and throw by Caleb Williams. I don't know that I've seen a quarterback in a full sprint in the wrong direction to be able to get enough room to get the ball off. Since there's not enough time left in the game, the Rams end up just taking a knee and the game goes to overtime. The Bears win the toss and they, like the Bills, decide to kick it. And just like in the previous game, the Bears defense opens overtime by forcing a 3-and-out. So we are at next score wins. The Bears are able to pick up a couple of first downs, moving down the field, and get a 4th and inches at midfield. That they make the call, they go for it, and they get it. They pick it up, setting them up into Ram territory. And at this point, they try to take a shot. Caleb Williams goes down the field, but it looked like DJ Moore did not realize that the ball was coming. Cam Curl made a play on the ball that Moore did not make a play on, and ends up making a great diving catch for an interception. Williams' 3rd interception of the game. It looked like if Moore would have made a play, I don't know if it looked like he could have possibly made a play on the ball, or at least been there to break up the interception, but it is what it is. Then the Rams hit Devontae Adams, who makes a great catch on the sideline, dragging his foot to come down, in bounds. Stafford is able to hit a quick blitz beating throw to Nakua, who then was able to turn around and make a great run after the catch that got them down into field goal range. They try to take a couple shots to the end zone, but just set up for a 42-yard kick, which is good to win the game 20-17. I was really impressed by the Bears this year and this game too. Williams has showed just how much potential he has. He has showed how great he can be, how outstanding single plays. He's had a couple of not. This was not the first time he had a outstanding play. Just last week in the playoffs, he also had another huge end of game throw that was unbelievable. He's also, besides that, the highlight plays, he's played very well in big spots this game and throughout. But he's also shown that he has clear room for improvement. But I think this is very exciting for me. If I'm a Bears fan, I see nothing but good things because it seems like Ben Johnson also is a good fit, and I just expect them to be even stronger moving forward. Now, for next week, I am very excited for the Seahawks-Rams game. They've played each other extremely close in these two games, getting the split. Seattle has looked dominant, but the Rams have also been really good on both sides of the ball so far this playoff run. So that's exciting because that's one that I don't know what to expect. But for now, that's the end of the NFL's divisional round of the playoffs. I'll be back next week after the championship games. And of course, I'll be back before then with my other episodes. But when it comes to the NFL playoff arc, I will be back next week after the championship games. Until then, remember, you only got one life to live. You might as well enjoy it while it lasts.